Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the YouTube channel of Cody's Footy World, and welcome back to another NRL video. My name is Cody. Hope you guys are doing very well on this very lovely Friday afternoon. And in today's video, one of the most anticipated videos we look forward to each year, and the most pretty much an early Christmas present for all of us rugby league content creators and rugby league fans out there. Today, I'm going to go over the 2026 NRL draw, NRLW, State of Origin, both men's and women's, and also the All-Stars games and the pre-season challenge as well. It's that one day of the year we always look forward to see which teams who we're going to play once, who we're going to play twice, and what rounds we're going to play each of those teams as well. The most exciting day of the year where the whole draws, all the fixtures, all come out at the same time. Now, obviously, we've already had round one. We've also had Magic Round as well, and to my surprise, we really haven't had any leaks for the 2026 draw. I know, obviously, Roosters and Manly have been confirmed for round 4, and the grand final rematch is in round 3, I believe, as well. So they're the only two games, really, that got put out by the respective clubs. But no leaks this year, and that's great. And this is the first generated AI draw that the NRL has done as well. So we're going to go over the full draw to see how that went with all the games as well, including the women's game as well. And also the women's Magic Round also came out the same time with the men's Magic Round as well. So before we get into the video, guys, if you guys are new around here, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here, and don't forget to click that notification bell so you don't miss out when a video gets posted or when I go live on YouTube. And don't forget as well, we're only just a few subscribers away from reaching 2,000, so I'm hoping we can get there before December begins, before the holidays begin. But anyways, guys, without further ado, let's go through all the important fixtures for 2026, and we will start with the All-Stars, and then we'll start with the pre-season challenge. Alright, so we'll first begin with the All-Stars games, both the women's and the men's. Both will be taking place from FMG Stadium in Wadikao, Hamilton. 1:45 for the women's game. That's 3:45 over there in New Zealand, and 12:45 p.m. Queensland time. This will still be daylight savings by then. And then the men's game will be kicking off at 4 p.m. New South Wales time, 6 p.m. New Zealand, and 5 p.m. Queensland time. 3 p.m. Queensland time. Sorry, not an hour between New South Wales and New Zealand. And also, it's happening on the 15th of February, which, funny enough, that's actually when I'm going to be a year older. It's my birthday on the 15th of February, so at least I get to watch some rugby league action on my birthday. But that's the All-Stars. Now let's go through the State of Origin for women's and men's. Alright, so now we'll begin with the women's State of Origin. Now, Game 1 is actually not going to be starting with before Magic Round this time, which that is a surprise. The first game is kicking off on the 30th of April from McDonald Jones Stadium, and for some reason has the Maroons as the home team, and the Blues are the away team. I don't know if that's a typo or not. It's kicking off at 7:45. Then Game 2 will be kicking off before Magic Round. So Magic Round for men's is between the 15th and 17th of May this year, round 11. Game 2 will kick off Magic Round weekend, really. And it has the women's Blues as the home team for some reason. And that will be kicking off at also 7:45 as well. And then Game 3, if we have a decider, hopefully it will be, the Maroons are taking on the Blues once again, 7:45 on the 28th of May. And it's from Seabus Super Stadium, this time on the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast Stadium finally getting a game that's not the Titans. This one will be interesting. Now let's go through the men's State of Origin. Alright, now we're into the men's State of Origin. The first game will kick off on the 27th of May on the Wednesday from 8:05 p.m. First game is at Accor Stadium this time, with the Blues obviously being the home team, and the Maroons are the away team, and the odds are out as well. You've got the Blues as the favourites at $1.71 and the Maroons $2.13. Well, isn't Queensland the last champions? They won this year. They won 2-1, so I don't know why they're the outsiders, but whatever. In Game 2, the neutral venue this time is the Melbourne Cricket Ground on the 17th of June. And the Blues are the home team for this one, kicking off at 8:10 p.m. And then Game 3 is also at 8:10 p.m. from Suncorp Stadium. And it's on the 8th of July. Maroons taking on the Blues. Hopefully, we are going to a decider. So that wraps up State of Origin. Now let's go through the women's NRLW, and then we'll go through the men's and the pre-season challenge as well. Alright, so we'll actually go through the pre-season challenge first, and then the women's NRLW. So there's those 3 rounds like last year, but Broncos are not going to be a part of it. The World Club Challenge has finally returned after missing out this year. It's going to be between Hull KR and the Broncos. So they'll be playing on the 19th of February, which I think that's going to be a Wednesday or a Thursday. And it's from one of the UK stadiums up there. So the Broncos will be travelling up for that one. So they will not be a part of the pre-season challenge. So the first ones are both at Jubilee Stadium between the 4 Vegas teams. Bulldogs versus Cowboys at Jubilee Stadium, 5:30. And the Dragons and the Knights at 7:30 for 7th of February. Now let's go through round 2. So we begin on the 12th of February, Thursday, between the Dolphins and the Titans at KO Stadium. On the Friday, there are 2 games. On the 13th, we have the Raiders and Storm from Queanbeyan, some from Saffron Oval, the former home ground of the Raiders, their first ground when they came in. And then the second game on the Friday from 8 p.m. from BB Prince Stadium, 7 p.m. Queensland time, we have the Cowboys and the Panthers. So interesting that they're not taking on another Vegas team. And then on the Saturday, we have 4 pre-season challenge games. We have the Warriors taking on the Sea Eagles at 1:40 from McLean Park in Napier. From Donald Jones Stadium, we have a double header. The West Tigers taking on the Roosters, and the Knights taking on the Bulldogs. So there's another Vegas showdown, another Vegas game playing. And the Charity Shield is playing. However, it's not from Mudgee this time. It's at Wynn Stadium, kicking off at 8:10 p.m. between the Dragons and Rabbitohs. So I get to travel to the Charity Shield for only the 4th time in my life. So, and it's from Wynn Stadium for my first time as well. I was there this year against the Dragons, but first time for Charity Shield. And then there's only one Sunday game, and that's on my birthday as well, from Henson Park in Sydney. We have the Sharks taking on the Eels. Alright, now we go through the final week of the pre-season challenge. We have the Warriors taking on the Dolphins from Leichhardt Oval as part of a doubleheader at 6 p.m. on the Friday, 20th of February. And then the second game, also at Leichhardt, is the Tigers and the Panthers. On the Saturday, we have 3 games. We have a doubleheader at Polytech Stadium or Central Coast Stadium. We have the Sharks and the Raiders at 3:50, followed by the Roosters and the Eels at 6 p.m. And then one more Saturday game. We have the Storm and the Titans from Sunshine Coast Stadium on the Sunshine Coast. And Melbourne are the home team. Interesting. And then on the Sunday, 22nd, we have the Rabbits taking on the Sea Eagles at Glen Willow Oval in Mudgee. So I'm surprised we're not playing the Dragons up there this time. I think obviously this was going to happen because if we remember in 2024, we played the Dragons at Jubilee Stadium or Nostrada Jubilee for the Charity Shield and not Mudgee this time. So that's why we didn't play up there for the Charity Shield in Mudgee in 2024. Alright, now let's go for the Women's NRLW Premiership. Alright, now let's go for the Women's NRLW Premiership in round 1. So it's the same as last year, all 12 teams. There's a magic round thrown in there as well, which will be taking place from Wagga Wagga. So the NRLW kicks off on the 2nd of July. So about the same time as this year. First game to open up, we have the Sharks and the Newcastle Knights from Sharks Stadium. No Friday games, so there's 3 Saturday games. From Seabus, we have the Titans and the Roosters at 12:45. 3:15 from Jubilee Oval, we have the Dragons and the Raiders. And then we have the first Queensland Derby. We have the Broncos taking on the Cowboys at 5:15 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium. And then for the 2 Sunday games at 11:50, we have the Eels and the Tigers at CommBank, followed by the Warriors taking on the Bulldogs from FMG Stadium in Dtaw, Hamilton, kicking off at 1:45 p.m. Let's go through round 2. Alright, round 2. We have, on the first day, we have the Sharks taking on the Broncos, 7:45 at Sharks Stadium. 3 Saturday games. First one at 12:45, Cowboys and the Tigers at QCB Stadium. 3:15 p.m. we have the Bulldogs and the Titans at Accor Stadium. And for the last Saturday game at 5:15, we have the Roosters taking on the Knights. And for the 2 Sunday games, Raiders versus Warriors at GIO Stadium from 12. And at 1:45, Dragons taking on the Eels at Wynn Stadium. Alright, round 3 from GIO Stadium at 12:45. We have the Raiders and the Roosters on the Saturday. Warriors and the Cowboys at Mount Smart Stadium, 3:15. This is going by New South Wales, so I'm not going to repeat like other times. And also at 5:15 p.m. from Accor Stadium, Bulldogs take on the Sharks at 5:15. The Sunday games, we have the Titans and the Eels at 11:50 from Cbus. Broncos and the West Tigers at 1:45 from Totally Workwear Stadium. And the last game to wrap up round 3, the Knights and the Dragons from McDonald Jones Stadium at 6:15 p.m. Round 4 kicks off with the Raiders taking on the Sharks at GIO for a Saturday 12:45 kickoff at 3:15 p.m. We had the Bulldogs and Dragons at the Accor Stadium, followed by the Cowboys and the Titans at QCB for 5:15. And then the last three games for round 4, Eels vs Warriors at Eric Tweeddale Stadium at 12 o'clock, 1:45 from Totally Workwear, Broncos and the Knights. And at Leichhardt Oval, 6:15, we have the Tigers and the Roosters. Alright, so round 5 is NRLW Magic Round. So we have the first game to kick off NRLW Magic Round on the Saturday, 3 games on each of the days. We have the Sharks and the West Tigers, and all these games are at Geo Hex Park at Wagga Wagga. I believe this used to be called McDonald's Park or McDonald's Stadium or something similar, where the Raiders used to take a home game there. Then the second game is the Dragons versus Roosters at 2:15, and then the last game on Saturday, 4:15, Raiders and the Cowboys. And for the Sunday games at 11:50, Bulldogs versus Broncos kick-off Sunday. Warriors versus Titans at 1:45, and then at 3:45 to wrap up NRLW Magic Round, Eels and the Knights at 3:45. Alright, round 6 now, so we're pretty much halfway through the season. To kick off round 6, Bulldogs versus Cowboys at Belmore Sports Ground, 12:45. Sharks versus Titans from Sharks Stadium at 3:15. And Warriors taking on the Knights from FMG Stadium Wally KO in Hamilton at 5:15 p.m. And then on the Sunday, we have the Raiders and Broncos from 11:35 at GIO. From Jubilee, we have the Dragons and the West Tigers at 1:35. And then at 6:15 p.m, we have the Roosters taking on the Eels at Allianz. Round 7 kicks off with the Titans and Dragons, 12:45 at Cbus. Eels versus Bulldogs at CommBank Stadium at 3:15, and then at 5:15 we have the Broncos taking on the Roosters from Suncorp Stadium. And then on the 3 Sunday games, Knights versus Raiders for 11:50 at McDonald Jones. West Tigers versus Warriors at CommBank at 1:45, and then the Cowboys taking on the Sharks at 6:15 p.m. at QCB Stadium, or known as Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Round 8 kicks off with the Knights taking on the Tigers at McDonald Jones. Bulldogs versus Raiders at 3:15 for Belmore at Belmore. Alright, and Dragons and the Cowboys at Allianz Stadium for a 5:15 game. So Dragons playing a home game at Allianz. Interesting, women's side at least. Titans versus Broncos at Cbus for 11:50 kickoff. Roosters versus Warriors at Allianz for a 1:45, and then at 6:15 we have the Sharks taking on the Eels. Round 9 kicks off with the Titans taking on the Raiders at Cbus, 12:45. 3:15 the Roosters and Sharks, and at 5:15 we have the Cowboys taking on the Knights. For the Sunday games at 11:50 we have the Warriors and Dragons at Mount Smart Stadium. Eels versus Broncos at 1:45 at CommBank. And then the last game for round 9 wraps up with the Tigers taking on the Bulldogs at Campbelltown Sports Stadium in round 9 for a 6:15 kickoff. Round 10, the penultimate round of the NRLW. The Warriors take on the Sharks at Mount Smart for 12:45. 3:15 between the Cowboys and the Roosters at QCB Stadium. 5:15 kickoff with the Knights and the Bulldogs at McDonald Jones. Sunday games: Dragons vs Broncos at 11:50, Wynn Stadium in Wollongong. West Tigers and the Titans at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. For 1:45, and then for a 6:15 game, Raiders and Eels at GIO Stadium. Now we move into the final round of the NRLW 2026 season, and it kicks off on the Thursday night, first Thursday for quite a while, and a Friday game finally. At Allianz, we have the Roosters taking on the Bulldogs for 7:45 kickoff. West Tigers and the Raiders, 5:40 at Leichhardt Oval. On the Saturday, there are 2 Saturday games from 12 o'clock, Eels and Cowboys at CommBank, followed by the Sharks and the Dragons at Sharks Stadium. And then the last 2 games to wrap up round 11 and the final 2 games, we have the Broncos and the Warriors at Totally Workwear Stadium, followed by the Knights and the Titans in the very final NRLW game at McDonald Jones Stadium, 1:45. So that is the 2026 NRLW Premiership. Now let's go through the main one. Let's go through the 2026 Men's NRL Draw, round 1 through to 27. Let's go. So obviously, round 1 and Magic Round, aka round 11, have already come out. But if you've been living under a rock, we will go over the draws. We'll go over each of those rounds as well. So obviously, the Vegas games, the Knights will kick off against the Cowboys. 12 a.m. kickoff for some reason. Followed by the Bulldogs and the Dragons kicking off at 12 a.m. as well. I believe that's a typo for the second game. And usually they'll be broadcast during the day up for us here. So that's a bit different. I don't know what time that will be United States time, but we will see. And for the rest of round 1, we kick off on the 5th of March, Thursday night, for the second time in a row. We have the Storm and the Eagles on the Thursday night, 8 p.m. at Amy Park. And 2 Friday games, the Warriors and the Roosters at 6 p.m, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. New Zealand, 5 p.m. Queensland time from Mount Smart Stadium. I'm not calling it Go Media Stadium. And then on the Friday night blockbuster, we have the preliminary final rematch where the Panthers choked. Of course, I'm talking about the new defending premiers, the Brisbane Broncos and the Penrith Panthers from Suncorp Stadium, Friday, 8 p.m. The 2 Saturday games kicking off at 5:30 from Sharks Stadium. We have the Sharks and the Titans, followed by the Sea Eagles and the Raiders kicking off at 7:30 from 4 Pines Park. And the last game to end round 1, the Dolphins taking on my boys, the Rabbitohs, for a 4 o'clock free-to-air primetime kickoff, 4:05 at Suncorp Stadium. And the West Tigers, unfortunately, for the second time in 3 years, they've got the bye for round 1. So at least they'll get the first 2 free points and start in 9th. I know. Obviously, I've heard the backlash from Tigers fans. Obviously, I don't blame them, but let's start with 2 points at least. So we'll see who the Tigers will play in round 2. Now we move into round 2. Alright, so now we move into round 2. First game opens up with the defending premiers, the Brisbane Broncos, at home once again, taking on the Eels for a primetime 8 p.m. kickoff. For the Friday games, we have the Warriors and the Raiders at kicking off at 6 p.m. And I will refer to these times to New South Wales times unless I say otherwise. Followed by obviously the biggest rivalry in the game between the Sydney Sooksters, the Sydney Chubs, the Sydney Roosters, and of course my boys, the Rabbitohs, kicking off at 8 p.m. at Allianz Stadium. So we start off with 2 away games in a row. Saturday, 3 p.m, we have the West Tigers and the Cowboys yet again at Leichhardt Oval. So this is the 3rd time in a row with Tigers and Cowboys are playing at Leichhardt Oval. And it's a Saturday afternoon game as well. So that's going to be interesting. Dragons taking on the Storm down at Wollongong at Wynn Stadium for a Saturday 5:30 kickoff. I was about to say Jubilee Oval, or a Friday game, sorry. And then followed by the Panthers taking on the Sharks at Carrington Park in Bathurst. So CommBank is not available for the first couple of rounds, same for Accor Stadium and Seabus, due to the soccer that's happening at that time. So Panthers are taking the Bathurst trip very early, and they're playing the Sharks. And we move into our 2 Sunday games. First one at 4:05 p.m. From Four Pines Park again, we have the Sea Eagles taking on the Knights. And then at Suncorp Stadium again, so Dolphins and Broncos are both starting both home games at Suncorp. Their first 2 games at Suncorp this year. Taking on the Titans, the first Queensland Derby of the season at 6:15 p.m. And the Bulldogs have the bye in round 2. Now let's move into round 3. So round 3 kicks off in the nation's capital between the Canberra Raiders and the Bulldogs at GIO Stadium for 8 p.m. kickoff. For our Friday fixtures, it's blockbuster. We have the Sydney Roosters and the Penrith the Penrith Panthers at 6 p.m. at Allianz. And then the grand final rematch between the Storm and the Broncos at Amy Park. Storm are going to be wanting to get their revenge, kicking off at 8 p.m. Down in Melbourne. Now we have our Saturday games. First one kicking off at 3 p.m. We have the Knights and the Warriors at McDonald Jones Stadium, followed by the Sharks and the Dolphins from Shark Stadium. So the Sharks are still the home team against the Dolphins. They've not played away against the Dolphins. Technically, they have, but they were the home team against the Dolphins in Magic Round back in 2023, I think it was, when they first entered the comp. And then for the final Saturday game, we get our first home game of the season, which I'm very surprised. But we are playing up here on the Central Coast at Polytech Stadium, Central Coast Stadium. We are playing the West Tigers, kicking off at 7:30. This is the second time we're playing the Tigers here on the coast, down at Gosford, and back in 2024 where we won 42-28. So easiest trip for me. Luckily, I get that over and done with. In our final 2 games to wrap up round 3 from CommBank Stadium, finally, we have the Eels taking on the Dragons at 4:05 p.m. And then another Queensland Derby. We have the Cowboys taking on the Titans at 6:15 p.m. from QCB Stadium in Townsville. So Titans are starting 3 away games in a row. And Manly have got the bye in round 3. Now let's move into round 4. And our first game kicks off in round 4 is the Cherry Evans rivalry game. It is the Sea Eagles taking on the Roosters, 4 p.m. on 8 p.m. for a Thursday night prime time. Cherry Evans against his former club. He betrayed Manly. Could have been a one-man club, but he didn't. So this is going to be a very interesting game. What a game to kick off round 4. And speaking of round 4, we have a repeat of last year, of this year rather. But this time, they are the home team. From Mount Smart Stadium, we have the Warriors and the West Tigers. These 2 played in round 4 this year, but it was a Sunday game. And the Warriors just won, and these 2 are playing each other in round 4 again from Mount Smart. And then we have the Battle of Brisbane. We have the Brisbane Broncos against the Dolphins for a prime time Friday 8 p.m. kickoff. The Battle of Brisbane. And we move into our Saturday games. First of 3, the first one kicking off at 3 p.m. between the Bulldogs and the Knights at the Core Stadium, followed by the Panthers and the Eels in the Western Sydney Derby rivalry at CommBank Stadium for a 5:30 game, followed by the Cowboys and the Storm at QCB Stadium for a 7:30 kickoff. Excuse me. And now we move into the final 2 games. The first one kicking off at 4:05 p.m. We have a semi-final rematch, this time between the Raiders and the Sharks. Raiders went out in straight sets against the Sharks this year in the final series from GIO Stadium. Raiders vs Sharks for a Sunday 4 o'clock. And then Titans finally wrap up round 4. They finally get their first home game, playing against the Dragons at Seabus Super Stadium. And for round 4, and to my surprise, Rabbitohs have the bye for round 4, so no game for that one. So let's move into round 5. And round 5 is Easter round. So one of our first traditional or one of our theme rounds of the season. First game kicking off from KO Stadium. Okay. We have the Dolphins taking on the Sea Eagles from Redcliffe for an 8 p.m. kickoff. Okay, so the Dolphins are starting their first 5 games in Queensland, but first 4 or 5 are home games. Interesting. And then we move into the traditional Good Friday clash between the Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs at a call stadium for Friday 4 p.m. kickoff. And of course, I'm going to be there as always. And obviously, we got flogged this year, and I was not happy about that. But luckily, we are the home team for this one. And then the other Good Friday clash is between the Panthers and the Storm, the 2025 grand final, 24 grand final rematch, kicking off at 8 p.m. from CommBank Stadium. Then we move on to the Saturday games. There are 2. From Jubilee Oval, we have Dragons taking on the Cowboys at 5:30, followed by the Titans and the Broncos at Cbus Super Stadium for 7:30. All right, 2 Sunday games. Finally, we get our first 2 o'clock game of the year. And daylight savings does end on the 5th of April. We have the Sharks and the Warriors for a 2 p.m. kickoff at Shark Stadium, followed by the Knights and the Raiders for prime time 4:05 p.m. kickoff at McDonald Jones. And then the traditional Easter Monday clash between the Eels and the West Tigers for a 4:05 kickoff at CommBank Stadium. And the Roosters have the bye for Easter, round 5. Now let's move to round 6. Alright, now we move into round 6. For a Thursday night prime time, this is going to be a very great game. It is a semi-final rematch between the Bulldogs and the Panthers from Accor Stadium for a Thursday night 7:50 kickoff. 2 Friday games. From Wynn Stadium, we have the Dragons taking on the Sea Eagles for a 6 p.m. kickoff. And followed by the biggest Queensland derby, the Brisbane Broncos and the Cowboys for a Friday night 8 p.m. primetime kickoff. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. So the Saturday games, we travel all the way to Perth for another doubleheader for the second time in a row. This time from Optus Stadium, we have the Rabbitohs and the Raiders, followed by the Sharks and the Roosters for a 3 p.m. kickoff and a 5:30 p.m. kickoff respectively. So Rabbitohs will play at 1 p.m. Perth time, and then the Sharks and Roosters 3:30 p.m. Kickoff, 3:30 p.m. Perth time. So I'm likely going to be going to this game as well, so it's going to be interesting. And the Chooks are going over this time, which why? But it's whatever. But we're playing the Raiders over there. Interesting. At least we're not playing a Sydney team over there. But this year we played the Cowboys, but look forward to going to Perth if I'm going again. And then the last Saturday game is between the Storm and the Warriors, kicking off at 7:30 p.m. at Amy Park. Sunday games, there are 2. So we're back to normal time slot games. At 2 p.m. we have the Eels and the Titans at CommBank Stadium, followed by the West Tigers taking on the Knights at Campbelltown Sports Stadium for a 4:05 kickoff. Who in their right mind put this as a bloody prime time game, honestly? And then the bye for that one is the Dolphins in round 6. Now for round 7. So round 7 kicks off from QCB Stadium for a prime time game from between the Cowboys and the Sea Eagles for a 7:50 kickoff. Raiders and the Storm taking place at GIO Stadium for a Friday night 6 p.m. game, followed by the Dolphins and the Panthers in Darwin. Okay. I was wondering who the Dolphins would be playing in Darwin, because they're playing a game there for the next 3 years, or next 3 seasons. And they're taking the Panthers there. Panthers have played there a few times against the Eels. Why would they want to go up to Darwin again? But it's whatever, and it's prime time as well. So that would be a... Would that be a 7:30 kickoff or a 6:30 kickoff? I'm not sure. It's one of them two. And then for the Saturday games, from Mount Smart Stadium, we have the Warriors against the Titans at Mount Smart, followed by the Rabbitohs and the Dragons kicking off at 5:30 at Accor Stadium. And for the last game for the Saturdays, West Tigers and the Broncos at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. The Tigers have never won at Campbelltown against the Broncos, so That's a little known trivia fact. The Broncos are undefeated against the West Tigers at Campbelltown. Now we move into the Sunday games. The Roosters taking on the Knights at Allianz Stadium, followed by the Eels and the Bulldogs for a 4:05 kickoff on the Sunday at CommBank Stadium, and the Sharks have the bye in round 7. Now we move into round 8. Round 8 is going to be Anzac round. Alright, so Anzac round kicks off on the Thursday between the West Tigers and the Raiders at Leichhardt Oval. On the Friday, we have 2 games. We have both from Queensland. We have the Cowboys taking on the Sharks at QCB Stadium, followed by the Broncos and the Bulldogs at Suncorp Stadium. I believe they played each other in Anzac round this year. The Broncos and the Bulldogs giving them one of their first losses of the season. Now we move into the Saturday games. There are three games on Saturday, with obviously the Dragons and Roosters, the traditional Anzac Day clash between. I don't know if they were going to change the times or not for this one, but they did. So no 3 p.m, no 5:30, no 7:30 games. 4 p.m. between the Dragons and the Roosters. The Dragons are the home team for this one this time. They rotated each year at Allianz. In New Zealand, the Warriors are taking on the Dolphins for a 6:05 p.m. kickoff from Sky Stadium in Wellington. And then the last game for Anzac Day, of course, it's the third time in a row. It is the Melbourne Storm against my boys, the Rabbitohs, kicking off at 8:10 p.m. We have yet to win in Melbourne and to win at Amy Park. It's going to be the 21st game down in Melbourne and the 14th, I believe, at Amy Park. So hopefully we can break the streak. And of course, I will be going as well. And the last 2 games to wrap up round 8, we have the Knights and the Panthers at McDonald Jones Stadium, followed by the Sea Eagles and the Eels at 4 Pines Park. And the bye for round 8 is the Titans, so they will miss out on Anzac round. Now it's moving to round 9. So round 9, so there's no Thursday night game this time. So there will, it's the Women's Day of Origin the day before, sorry. So on the Friday, the first game kicks off between the Bulldogs and the Cowboys for a Friday 6 p.m. kickoff. And then the next game is the prime time between the Dolphins and the Storm from Suncorp Stadium. So there'll be 3 games on Saturday and the Sunday for round 9. First game kicks off at 3 p.m. between the Titans and the Raiders from Seabus. Eels versus Warriors for 5:30 at CommBank. And the Roosters versus Broncos at Allianz Stadium to wrap up the Saturday games at 7:30. Finally! Alright. Not bad. And for the Sunday games from McDonald Jones Stadium, we have the Knights and the Rabbitohs. We finally go to Newcastle for the first time since 2023, and then we got walloped in that game. This will probably be my second easiest trip. I live closer to Newcastle than down to Sydney, so that's going to be an easy trip for me at least. Saturday game, a Sunday, I should say, and a 2 p.m. I don't mind that. And the last 2 games wraps up with the Sharks and the Tigers from Shark Stadium, followed by the Panthers and Sea Eagles at 6:15 at CommBank Stadium, and the Dragons have the bye in round 9. Alright, round 10. Round 10 kicks off with the Dolphins and the Bulldogs at 7:50 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium. Now we move into our two Friday games. So the Roosters take on the Titans at Polytech Stadium in Gosford. So they're taking the game to Gosford as well. They usually do anyway. And then the Cowboys take on the Eels for a primetime game, 8 p.m. kickoff at QCB Stadium. That's going to be a fun game to watch. For Saturday games, from Wynn Stadium, we have the Dragons and the Knights for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, followed by the Rabbitohs and the Sharks at Accor Stadium 5:30. And the last game for Saturday, Manly and the Broncos once again. So Broncos travelling to 4 Pines Park again for a Saturday 7:30 kickoff. For the Sunday games, the Storm take on the Tigers. That's not going to be a good game to watch from Amy Park. And the last game wraps up with a blockbuster encounter. These two had at Mudgee last year, or this year rather. The Raiders take on the Panthers for a primetime Sunday afternoon kickoff at GIO Stadium, and the Warriors have got the bye for round 10. Alright, so round 11 is Magic Round. So there'll be 2 games on Friday, 3 games on the Saturday and the Sunday, and the Women's Day of Origin second game is on the Thursday. And of course, I'm gonna be traveling because we are playing for Magic Ground. Anyways, the first game that opens up Magic Ground on a Friday is between the Sharks and the Bulldogs, and these are all at Suncorp as well, obviously. 6 p.m. kickoff, and the final day one game is, to my surprise, us against the Dolphins. So we're playing the Dolphins twice at Suncorp this year, and we're the home team against them. I find this very stupid. I'm fine with them being the away team, but us being a home team against the Dolphins or the Broncos for Magic Round is ridiculous. But I'll take a prime time game and a night game. I prefer a night game than a day game at Magic Round anyway. So not a bad way to kick off Magic Round for both games. Saturday games at 3 p.m. The first one is the Tigers and the Sea Eagles. Manly missed out last year, so they finally get to play. And this will be the first time Manly play a different team that's not the Broncos as well. The second game is between the Roosters and Cowboys at 5:30. These two have already played each other twice in Magic Round, and I think it's one game each. The last time these two played, which I was there, the Cowboys did win 20 points to 6. I think that was 2023, I think. And the other one was 21, I think. And the last game, prime time, is between the Eels and the Storm. So these two, so we've got two repeated round one games. Yeah, obviously I already knew about that, but that's still ridiculous. And then the last day of Magic Round, who loves the Titans and the Knights at 2 p.m? Yeah, I could skip this game. That's a flip of a coin game, really. And the Warriors and the Broncos. Okay, Warriors getting prime time against the Broncos so Broncos for afternoon game again. And the last game is going to be a snooze fest, and probably a lot of people will leave for this one. Panthers and the Dragons at 6:25. And the Raiders, unfortunately, are missing out on Magic Round. I think it's ridiculous that they're missing out there on Magic Round. They're one of the most passionate fan bases, and the ones that actually travel up to Magic Round as well. I mean, I understand, obviously, someone has to miss out, but really, the Raiders, they're the current minor premiers at the moment. But why? Is it because they're travelling to Perth? That's understandable, but still, that's stupid. Anyways, let's move it to round 12. And round 12 is our first Origin affected game. So that means we will know who's playing for Origin at the end of Magic Round. That's going to be our first. So there's 5 games only for round 12. And the Raiders will take on the Dolphins to kick off round 12, and it's the Thursday night GIO. One Friday game, and it's between the Bulldogs and the Storm. Such a shame that this is Origin affected. This would have been a great game. And 2 Saturday games from 5:30. We have the Dragons and the Warriors from Jubilee Oval, followed by the Sea Eagles taking on the Titans at 4 Pines Park. Saturday 7:30. Oh my God! Oh my goodness! I can't believe it. For a 4 o'clock kickoff between the Cowboys and the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs are finally travelling up the QCB for the first time since 2021. Well, technically 2020. This is going to be the first time the Cowboys and Rabbitohs are playing at QCB for the first time in 6 years. By the time this game kicks off on the 24th of May. We have not played up there against them since 2020, and we played the Panthers there in the preliminary final, qualifying final, in 2021, which we both won. So we have a 100% winning record at QCB, and I just can't believe I get to travel to Townsville. QCB Stadium and Mount Smart are they're the only 2 stadiums, not counting Belmore as well. They're the only 2 stadiums I have yet to get to go to and experience every single game. Every single ground, So this is going to be wonderful. This game is locked in. I'm definitely going up to Townsville. Even though it's going to be very humid from what I've heard from Cowboys fans up there, I'm going no matter what. This game is locked in for me. Cowboys versus Rabbitohs. Prime time as well at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Thank you, Townsville. It took you long enough for us to finally play there. And we're not playing a neutral ground finally. Ugh. And then the buys for the rest of the round, there are 7 buys. Broncos, Eels, Knights, Panthers, Roosters, Sharks, and the West Tigers. And round 13, State of Origin Game 1 will be a few days before, so players may back up depending on where they're playing. For Friday, 8 p.m, there's only one game. We have the Sharks and the Sea Eagles at Sharks Stadium, followed by the Knights and Eels at Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff at McDonald Jones. West Tigers and the Bulldogs at CommBank for 5:30. And Saturday, 7:30 at Amy Park, the Storm and the Roosters. 3 Sunday games. From Suncorp Stadium, we have the Broncos and Dragons. 4:05 p.m. kickoff, we have the Raiders and the Cowboys in Canberra. And the last game to wrap up round 13 is the Panthers and the Warriors at CommBank Stadium, 6:15 kickoff. And the byes are the Dolphins, the Rabbitohs, and the Titans. So that's the Rabbitohs' second bye in round 13. Now it's moving to round 14. A proper full round this time, and I think this is when the King's birthday is happening. Yep, that is correct. So for round 14, oh, okay, a prime time fixture, Thursday night game. I think this is the first one. We have the Sea Eagles and the Rabbitohs. So we're heading to the Brookie for the second year in a row for a Thursday night. Interesting. 7:50 kickoff. Now we move into the 2 Friday games. We have the Storm and the Knights at 6 p.m. at Amy Park, followed by the Raiders and Roosters at GIO Stadium for a Friday 8 p.m. Raiders are getting quite a few 8 p.m. kickoffs down at Canberra for this time of year. That's a surprise. No 3 p.m. game. There's only 2. So we have 2 Queensland Derby games on the same day. The first one between the Cowboys and the Dolphins at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, followed by the Broncos and the Titans at Suncorp Stadium, 5:30 and 7:30 respectively. And the 2 Sunday games, we have the Tigers and the Panthers at CommBank at 2 p.m, followed by the Sharks and the Dragons, close Southern Derby rivalry for a 4:05 kickoff at Sharks Stadium. And then the King's birthday public holiday, annual game between the Bulldogs and the Eels at a core stadium for a Monday afternoon 4 p.m. kickoff, and the Warriors have the bye in round 14. Now it's going to round 15. This will be our second Origin affected game. Alright, so the first 2 games are pretty much opposite rivalries. Well, not really rivalries, but the respective teams that are rivals of these teams. So the Thursday night game, to wrap up, to start round 15, there's only 5 games, is between the Rabbitohs and the Broncos at a core stadium. This is going to be Origin affected too, so I think we might have dodged the bullet here. And we're playing the Broncos for a Thursday night this time. We haven't done that for quite a while. The only Friday game is between the Dolphins and the Roosters at Suncorp Stadium. That's what I meant by rivalries. Dolphins and Broncos are playing the most hated 2 teams based on rivalry, the Rabbits and Roosters respectively, from Suncorp Stadium at 8 p.m. for the Dolphins Roosters. 2 Saturday games, Warriors and the Sharks at Mount Smart, 5:30, and followed by the Eels and the Raiders for a 7:30 kickoff at CommBank Stadium. And then the only Sunday game, the West Tigers and the Titans for a primetime 4:05 kickoff at Leichhardt Oval. Why? Why? And then the byes for round 15, the Bulldogs, Cowboys, Dragons, Knights, Panthers, Manly, and the Storm. So Storm are the last team to get their first bye of the season. How the tables have turned, eh? Alright, now let's move to round 16. Round 16 is when the second game, State of Origin, will kick off on the Wednesday. So players may return. It's in Melbourne this time, so we'll wait and see. The only Friday game, prime time, from McDonald Jones Stadium is the Knights and the Dragons at 8 p.m. First Saturday game is between the West Tigers and the Dolphins from Campbelltown Sports Stadium. So this will be the Dolphins' first time playing at Campbelltown for a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff. Followed by the Titans and the Panthers at Seabus for a 5:30. Then 7:30, we have the Bulldogs and Sea Eagles at a core stadium. So the Sunday games, there's 3 of them. Okay, so from One New Zealand Stadium in Christchurch. One New Zealand Stadium. I think that's the beginning of the new stadium down in Christchurch. I think that's the new stadium, I believe. So Warriors are taking a home game there against the Cowboys for a Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff, 4 p.m. New Zealand time. At 4 o'clock, down at Amy Park at prime time, so these two are playing each other twice. The Storm and the Raiders. And the last game to close off round 16 is between the Roosters and the Sharks. And the buys for this one, the Broncos, Eels, and the Rabbitohs. So that means we've had our first buys within 16 rounds. So that's 13 games we've played. And we've got 11 more games to go for the rest of 2026. Okay. And I think we're the first team to have all of our buys done as well. So that's interesting. Anyways, alright, so we have a full round for round 17. I believe this is going to be Beanie for Cancer round. So the first game kicks off on the Thursday is between the Eels and the Rabbitohs at CommBank Stadium. So we'll finally get the travel to CommBank finally. And the next two games on the Friday, we have the Titans and the Bulldogs at Seabus for a 6 p.m, followed by the Broncos and the Roosters at Suncorp Stadium. So these two are playing each other twice. Also from Suncorp Stadium for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, we have the Dolphins and the Warriors, followed by the Cowboys and the Cowboys and the Panthers for a 5:30 game. And looking at this, all Queensland teams, we have 4 games up in Queensland for round 17. I think that's a first, I think. Oh, I could be wrong about that. And the last game for Saturday, 7:30, we have the Sea Eagles taking on the Storm at 4 Pines Park. And then for the last 2 games for round 17, we have the Raiders taking on the Dragons at GIO, followed by the Knights and the Tigers for another primetime 4 o'clock kickoff. Why? And the Sharks have the bye in round 17. Now let's move into our final Origin affected round. Round 18. So there's 5 games yet again. Oh, we finally play Penrith for the Friday game. It's the Panthers and the Rabbitohs from CommBank Stadium, and it's Origin affected one as well. So playing two dominant teams during Origin affected rounds. I'm glad. I think we're only playing them once, which I'm hoping that's the case. So Panthers versus Rabbitohs, me versus my dad, Friday 8 p.m. on the 3rd of July. For the there's 2 Saturday. Oh, it's only 5 games. Sorry for the mess up, guys. Dragons versus West Tigers at Jubilee Oval for Saturday 5:30, followed by the Broncos and Sharks for a 7:30 game at Suncorp Stadium. On the Sunday, we have the Eels and the Sea Eagles at CommBank Stadium, 2 p.m. kickoff, followed by the Knights and Dolphins at McDonald Jones Stadium for a Sunday afternoon kickoff. And for the last lot of 7 buys, Bulldogs, Cowboys, Raiders, Roosters, Melbourne, Titans, and Warriors wrap up round 18 and the buys. Round 19, the last round with multiple buys, and then we finally move on the road to the finals to see what teams will make the top 8 this year and who will fight for the bottom and get the wooden spoon. So round 19, we have the West Tigers and the Warriors for a Friday 8 p.m. kickoff. Another prime time for the Warriors. Wow. And this one's taking place from Campbelltown. From KO Stadium. So the second game for the Dolphins from KO Stadium. They will take on the Sharks for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Bulldogs versus Raiders at the Core Stadium at 5:30. Followed by the Roosters and Eels for a Saturday 7:30 kickoff. And the Sunday games, okay. So the Rabbitohs are taking on the Knights for the second time this in 2026 for a Sunday 2 o'clock kickoff. So both games are 2 p.m. Interesting. And this will be the first time we've played the Knights twice in one season since... Crap. It has been a while since we've played the Knights twice. I think it's 2019? I know we played the Knights twice in 2020, but one of them was a finals game. I could be wrong about that. Manly and the Cowboys for a prime time 4 o'clock kickoff at 4 Pines Park. So these two are playing twice. And the last game to wrap up round 19, sorry, is the Storm and the Titans at Amy Park for 6:15. And the last three buys, and the three buys are the Broncos, Dragons, and the Panthers. Now we move on to the road of the finals, where there will be one bye for the rest of the season for each of the teams. Round 20 kicks off with another preliminary final rematch, this time from CommBank Stadium. We have the Panthers and the Broncos kicking off at 7:50 p.m. on the Thursday. The two Friday games, we have the Sharks and the Knights at Shark Stadium, followed by the Roosters and the Storm at Allianz Stadium for a Friday 8 p.m. kickoff. There it is. So we're playing the Raiders twice. We're taking on the Raiders at GIO Stadium for a Saturday afternoon 3 p.m. kickoff. Not bad. I will be there for that one. Warriors vs Dragons at Mount Smart Stadium for 5:30 kickoff, followed by the Bulldogs and West Tigers at 7:30 at Accor Stadium. And for the Sunday fixtures, we have the Titans taking on Sea Eagles at Seaboss for a 2 p.m. kickoff, and followed by the Dolphins and the Cowboys at Suncorp Stadium for prime time, another Queensland derby. And the Eels have the bye in round 20. Round 21. So round 21 kicks off with the Western Sydney Derby once again, this time with the Eels as the home team. First the Panthers at CommBank for a Saturday 7:50 kickoff. The Knights versus the Roosters for a Friday 6 p.m. kickoff in McDonald Jones, followed by the Rabbitohs and the Storm at Accor Stadium for a primetime 8 p.m. kickoff. So we're playing the Storm twice, unfortunately. Take Raiders and the West Tigers versing each other at GIO for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, followed by the Bulldogs and Warriors for a Saturday 5:30 kickoff. The Cowboys and the Broncos playing at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, the Queensland Derby once again. The Dragons taking on the Titans at Jubilee Oval for a Sunday 2 o'clock, so not WIN Stadium this time, so Titans might win finally. And the last game takes place between the Northern Beaches and the Shire. We have the Sea Eagles taking on the Sharks at 4 Pines Park for a primetime 4 o'clock kickoff, and the Dolphins have the bye in round 21. Now round 22. So round 22 kicks off between the Cowboys and the Roosters at QCB Stadium for a Thursday 7:50 kickoff. Excuse me. The Dragons take on the Dolphins in WIN Stadium. So this was, I think it's only been the second time they still play at WIN Stadium. Followed by the Storm and the Bulldogs for a prime time 8 p.m. kickoff at Amy Park. Titans take on the Warriors for a Saturday afternoon kickoff, 3 p.m. at Seaboss. Panthers versus Raiders again in Mudgee. Okay. This time for a Saturday 5:30 game. Can the Raiders do the same thing like they did this year? And the last game kicks off at 7:30 on the Saturday for the Broncos and the Knights at Suncorp. The Sunday games, the Rabbitohs travel to Shark Stadium once again to the Shire. We take on the Sharks for a Sunday 2 o'clock kickoff. And the last game wraps up at CommBank Stadium between the West Tigers and the Parramatta Eels. So they're playing each other twice as well. And Manly have got the bye in round 22. So round 23, we're in our final 5 rounds of the season. Let's go. So the first game, a prime time, kicks off between the Titans and the Cowboys. Queensland Derby at 7:50 p.m. And the two Friday games has the Warriors and the Panthers at Mount Smart Stadium at 6 p.m. Followed by the Roosters and the Bulldogs at Allianz for a Friday 8 p.m. kickoff. Okay, so the first Saturday game, Melbourne take on the Sea Eagles. However, it is going to Perth again. So Melbourne are taking a home game to Perth against Manly. And Manly were playing Perth this year, but this is at HBF Park rather than Optus, because obviously you don't want to play one single game at Optus and the crowd will look ordinary. This is a Saturday afternoon kickoff, 3 p.m. So this will be a 1 p.m. kickoff there. Interesting. Now that will be Melbourne's first time since like 2019 or 18 at over there in Perth. Dolphins and the Broncos for a Queensland Derby 5:30 kickoff at Suncorp. Followed by this will be where Channel 9 will broadcast the Saturday 7:30 game for the rest of the season as a prime time as well. So Rabbitohs in the Eels at Allianz Stadium again. So I think this round's going to be Indigenous round. Saturday 7:30, so we finally get a home game at Allianz. And for the 2 Sunday games, the Raiders and the Knights at 2 p.m. at GIO, and the Dragons take on the Sharks at Jubilee Oval for a prime time 4 o'clock kickoff, and the West Tigers have the bye in round 23, so at least they don't get the bye in the last round. Round 24 kicks off with a blockbuster Thursday night kickoff at 7:50 from CommBank Stadium is the Panthers and the Roosters. The Friday games, we have the Sea Eagles taking on the Dolphins at 4 Pines Park. Can Dolphins finally win there after they got flogged for the two times they played there? And the last Friday game kicks off at 8 p.m. We have the Bulldogs and the Rabbitohs at Accor Stadium. So we're playing each other again for the second time this year. So glad I can get in for free for this one this time. And it's a Friday night game, so that's even better. So the fucking 4 o'clock. The 4 o'clock for a second game, well, it's not really the best. But for Good Friday, it makes sense. The Saturday games from Shark Stadium. The Sharks take on the Raiders from 3 p.m. Eels versus Cowboys at CommBank Stadium, 5:30. So they're playing each other twice. And then for the prime time, Saturday, 7:30, Broncos takes on the Warriors. So Warriors playing prime time again. Then from McDonald Jones Stadium, a snooze fest of a game. The Knights take on the Titans, followed by the West Tigers and the Dragons at CommBank Stadium for a 4:05 p.m. kickoff. Melbourne have the bye, that's their third and final bye. Round 25, only 3 rounds left to go, ladies and gentlemen, and it's quite an exciting draw. Round 25 is between the Melbourne Storm and the Penrith Panthers at Amy Park on a Thursday night kickoff. Raiders take on the Broncos in the epic preliminary final rematch, qualifying final rematch down at Canberra once again. But unfortunately, it's not prime time, which that sucks. It's at 6 p.m. kickoff at GIO Stadium, and then followed by the Dolphins and the Eels at Suncorp Stadium for an 8 p.m. kickoff. The Knights and the Sea Eagles open up the Saturday games at McDonald Jones for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Rabbitohs and the Warriors for a Saturday 5:30 kickoff at the Accor Stadium. Followed by the Dragons and the Bulldogs at Allianz Stadium. Okay, so Dragons were rumoured to take 2 games at Allianz, and the rumoured team was going to be the Bulldogs. So they're not playing at each other's venues this time, because obviously they're playing in Vegas to start with. And then for the last 2 games, we have the Titans and the Sharks at Seabus Super Stadium at 2 p.m, followed by the Roosters and the Tigers at Allianz Stadium for a 4:05 kickoff. And the Cowboys have got the bye in round 25. Right, round 26, the penultimate round of the regular season. And the second grand final rematch finally happens. This time, it is the Broncos and the Storm from Suncorp Stadium, Thursday night kickoff at 7:50. The 2 Friday games, the Sea Eagles and the Dragons at 4 Pines Park for a 6 p.m. kickoff. The Panthers and the Bulldogs at CommBank Stadium for a blockbuster Friday night game. I was wondering when we were going to play this team. The Titans and the Rabbitohs at Seabus Super Stadium for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. So I'm going up to the Gold Coast once again. And that's going to be an exciting game. At least it's not 2 o'clock, because that was very hot to deal with. The Roosters and the Dolphins at Allianz Stadium for a Saturday 5:30. And all Queensland teams are the home team in round 26 for the second time. Wow. And the Cowboys and the Tigers for a Saturday prime time 7:30 kickoff from QCB Stadium. For the last 2 games for round 26, the Warriors take on the Knights for a Sunday 2 o'clock kickoff at Mount Smart. And the last game is the Eels and the Sharks at CommBank Stadium, and the Raiders have got the bye. So I'm wondering who has the bye for round 27. We will wait and see. Now, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, here is the last round And it starts off with a bang. For round 27 to start on the last Thursday night game, we have the Bulldogs and the Broncos at Accor Stadium. That's going to be a wonderful game. The two Friday games, the Titans and the Dolphins. So they're playing each other in round 2 and 27. That's interesting. Or round 3, I can't remember now. It's a 6 p.m. excuse me, a 6 p.m. kickoff from Seabus Super Stadium. Oh my God. And of course, obviously, it's the biggest rivalry between the Rabbitohs and the Roosters for a Friday night, 8 p.m. However, we're the home team. And it's at Allianz. Oh my goodness. I did not expect this to happen, but NRL, thank you very much. We're playing the Roosters as the home team at Allianz Stadium. So Roosters, go get fucked. We'll show you how we pack out a full house compared to you flops. Can't wait to be there for that one. 4th of September, locked in. Let's go. And now let's go into the rest of the games. Excuse me, that got me very excited. I can't believe we're playing the Roosters at Allianz twice in the regular season. That's crazy. So Roosters fans, get fucked. Anyways, Saturday, 3 p.m. The Warriors and the Sea Eagles from Mount Smart Stadium, 3 p.m. From QCB Stadium for a 5:30 kickoff. Cowboys and the Raiders. So unfortunately, we don't play in New Zealand, and that's fine. The Sharks and the Storm wrap up the Saturday fixtures at 7:30 at Shark Stadium. Dragons and the Eels for a Sunday 2 p.m. at Wind Stadium. And the final game to wrap up the 2026 season from CommBank Stadium, it is the Penrith Panthers against the West Tigers at 4:05 p.m. And the Newcastle Knights get the final bye in the last round, so sucked into the Knights. You got the wooden spoon this year, so you deserve at least 2 points to finish off round 27 in the 2026 season. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the full 2026 full fixture. I went through all of it. That was very exciting. A lot of exciting games. I didn't expect, at least on the Rabbitohs side, I will go in depth over our draw within the next coming days or weeks as well. But no, that's very exciting. I can't wait to look forward to the 2026 season kicking off in I believe it's just over 100 days away now. So can't believe we're only a few months away from the season kicking off, and obviously goal is to get to every single game, every Rabbitohs game that is going to be feasible for me. Perth is 50-50 at the moment, but I will let you guys know if I will go or not. But if I don't, then that's the only game that I'm going to miss. We'll be going up the Magic Ground. Can't believe we're going up to Townsville for the first time in 6 years against the Cowboys, or 5 years technically, but the comp moved up to Queensland in 2021 halfway through that year. But first time against the Cowboys at their brand new stadium. I can't wait to experience it. It's only one of 2 grounds I've yet to get to attend, and the other one's Mount Smart, but I've got to wait till 2027 now to attend. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you guys have enjoyed this video and what me going over the full fixtures for everything, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for you guys new around here, and don't forget to click that bell notification so you don't miss out when a video gets popped onto the channel or when I go live on YouTube. But anyways, guys, this was very exciting to go over. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well, but can't believe early Christmas present for everyone, but very exciting. So get planning to whatever games you plan to go to, and hopefully the Rabbitohs can win their 22nd premiership in 2026. We will have to wait and see, but stay healthy at least. But anyways, guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. And also, go to Rabbitohs.